I came across a resume which was of 14 pages. I called the guy and I
Seriously?
said, I want to meet you.
14 pages.
I want to meet you. I met him and I said, how the hell did you have a 14-page resume? Then he started elaborating. So verbose, whatever he was saying, verbatim, he started writing it down. I said,
paragraphs over
I
there.
said, do you think anybody will read this? You're not getting a call. It's obvious.
Hi, welcome to Sell Side Conversations. Our guest today is Sarabjeet Sachar. He's a well-known motivational speaker, career coach, and an entrepreneur. In our conversations with him, we'll talk about the importance of job search, career development, personality building, and a host of other things. So Sarabjeet, welcome to Sell Side Conversations. Hi Sarabjeet, welcome to Sell Side Conversations.
Hi, Gautam.
It's a pleasure having you here.
Same here, my pleasure too.
So Sarabjeet, I was sort of going through your LinkedIn profile, and while reading it, I got a sense that your entire career can be sort of classified into three different parts. The first part is your sales career, or media sales career. The second was your entrepreneurial journey with aspirations. And now the third part is obviously your role as a coach, corporate coach, and a leadership coach. So in our conversation, we'll cover all the three aspects of it. So why don't we start off from the beginning? Can you give us a sense about your childhood, your education, some of unique experiences that shaped your personality? It'll be good to sort of get into the background.
Sure, Gautam. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. And I come from a very middle class background. My mother was an English teacher. So teaching was somewhere in the blood. I could see her teaching. I could see her speaking. So public speaking, teaching, even when I was 2 years old, I would see her doing that, and somewhere that got inculcated. Father was a normal employed person. Somewhere I developed a lot of, in terms of my personality, to learn things. Then I'm proud to say that I'm a great learner. That's why, I could even shift careers, right from sales leadership to entrepreneurship to career development and leadership coaching. So that learning bit came from my mother, and she was an excellent teacher and I was an excellent student.
Got it.
In terms of education, of course, while I tried my hand at everything, but eventually I landed up with doing my BSc with physics, and what I enjoyed and I'm also very fond of dancing.
Oh, really? Okay.
I can dance anywhere, anytime.
Any particular dance form?
Bhangra.
Oh, okay.
Something that I thoroughly enjoy even at this stage. So these are things which in my childhood really bring back good memories. And somewhere, when I graduated, we would discuss like how it would happen in those times. Ke kya karna hai, ye hai, wo hai, vagera. I had a kind of a passion for, influencing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always into public speaking. And I won many awards. I used to, at that time, I had been awarded as the best speaker with Nazareth Speakers Academy. It used to be a very famous one in the 80s, 90s.
Okay.
And that time when I graduated, I did that. I did Indo-American Society. So somewhere, speaking, learning, teaching, coaching, those kind of things were already there.
And all of these were sort of subconsciously happening. You didn't make a special effort to learn these skills.
Not really. Because I would consider that was something innate in me. It was there in me and it just got developed. And so after graduation, it was that what do you do now? So sales is something which I really loved, because basically, what happens in sales, people generally feel that, "Arey yaar, selling ka career nahi karna. We don't want selling." Means it's not a defined career. Somewhere there is a so-called, not really a stigma, but somewhere perception-wise, because
the coolness factor also is not there.
So the moment you say, "Arey yaar, tu sales karta hai," to matlab, "Arey tu caller hai." So that societal pressure somewhere is there. But with me, what happened, I still believe that, as we were also discussing, selling is something which we do day in and day out.
Absolutely.
And it's only, a positive influence that you are creating on another individual to create a win-win situation. That's what sales is all about. And if you can enjoy that, believe you me, it's one of the best professions. So, and it's very interesting how I got my first job also. I was traveling from Andheri to Churchgate in a local train, and I was having a friend, and I was saying, "Yeah, boss, I'm looking for some sales jobs, and there are some pharma sales representatives ka vacancy. I saw I want to do that." And I kept explaining to him with enthusiasm as to why, usme there is a lot of things that are done and the kind of training they do. I was very passionate about the training that medical reps would receive. By the time I would explain the whole thing and somebody saw my passion, the guy who was sitting next to me was the regional manager of Wallace Pharma.
Oh, really?
By the
Okay.
time we got back at Churchgate Station, he said, "Can I just talk to you? Are you looking for a sales job in a pharma field?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Here's my card. I'm Hatangadi. We are looking for medical reps, and we are Cosme Matthias Menezes Group. That's the one which manufactures Old Spice, and Wallace Pharma was one of the multinationals." So he said, "Can you come over today?" You won't believe it. I went there that day, met the regional manager, the head, the doctor, etc., all that. They found my knowledge good. They found me extremely good at learning. I was a fresher, started my career.
Oh,
So that's how Wallace Pharma sales happened.
so that is basically preparation meets opportunity.
Absolutely.
So your ability to sort of to public speaking and all your other extracurricular and the opportunity just sort of came together.
Yes. So that happened. And then, of course, 2 years I did very well. I was the best presenter at the sales. I was asked to train the teams. I would love all that. So selling may also, that training and coaching is something which I continue to do. Then Times of India, I applied. There was a job. At that time, it was a marketing trainee. So I would spend 6 months in circulation, 6 months in at sales response. So PG, Pradeep Goa, Chinnan Das, Krishnan, all these guys interviewed me. There was a panel, Pratish Nandi and all that. That time was a very, very strict panel that would sit in Times of India. And that's how I got my job in Time. So after that, because I thought I must get into B2B sales, and that is something which I thoroughly enjoyed. So I started with Times of India. After Times of India, where I spent 5 good years, I did well. One of the things that always I would do wherever I would join is something, I would do something very hatke. Matlab, there has to be something unique. Means it can't be the same thing. So I remember when we were selling for ad sales for Femina, Filmfare, those were the magazines. That time, the editorial, Rauf Ahmed came up with the concept, how would the actors look, say, 30 years down the line? Let's have a story on that. Let's have a cover, and we are going to launch Filmfare Hindi. तो ये करते हैं. So that was the first opportunity where Pradeep Guha, Chinandas, all these guys were involved, and I was the person who was handling these magazines. So what we did, we approached Lakme to ensure that 30 years down the line how the actors would look, and Lakme takes care of your skin, and we developed a concept about aging, and it doesn't allow you to age, etc.
And this is all before the digital age could come in.
Absolutely, I'm talking of 85.
So 85. Oh wow.
85.
1985.
So 85 to 90, all this happened. Then an opportunity with Indian Express came up. Mr. Vivek Goenka, through somebody, called me. He said, "I'm setting up a space marketing department." That time, space marketing, it was not known as space marketing. It was a PR department. Indian Express was generally more of a PR kind of a thing, and they were not focused on the way Times response was. And I'm talking of the 90s. It was an opportunity to head the department. So at the age of just about 26, I was heading 70, 80 people, got that opportunity, started doing that. There also I used Indian Express as a editorial watchdog. That's the kind of positioning I did for Indian Express, because we didn't have the numbers to back up what
Correct.
we were doing. But we said the environment is such that it's response led, and that is the reason why Indian Express should be advertised, and that's how we took it. Then from there I moved on to the Hindu. I was the regional head. I was very young, just 31, and I was heading the whole West for Hindu. And then eventually I moved to India Today. India Today I spent a good 5 years. I was the senior vice president there. I was heading ad sales all India. There also, again, uniquely what I did is India Today, because it was in different languages also, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, so on and so forth. We developed a package and positioned India Today as a complement to the dailies. Because, the dailies would have, say, a Dainik Jagran in one region, but you would have a Hindi India Today to be combined, an incremental reach at a minimal cost, that kind of positioning. And whatever I had learned from Pradeep Guha, Mastermind, etc., I applied. I came up with a beautiful rate card, and that is something which I thoroughly enjoyed. So strategically doing something innovative is something which I enjoyed, and sales gave me that opportunity. So
Wonderful.
I was as a sales leader, and eventually from there I wanted to try out television. So I moved to Z, and for 1 year I was with Z before I stopped on my corporate life and started Aspiration. So
what was the trigger point to sort of now change gears from a corporate life to an entrepreneurial life?
Yeah. So, by the time I was 37, 38, I frankly wanted to develop something. Eventually, now, I had the feedback also I would get from my teams was, more of training, coaching, mentoring, which any leader will do. And as a sales leader, I was doing it and I was enjoying that. But somewhere I wanted to develop a brand of my own. And that time I saw that in the media and entertainment industry, frankly, the quality of talent, the way they would get it. And what I saw was that there were many qualified candidates, qualified not only in terms of education per se, but qualified as a sales professional or as a professional for marketing, those areas. So there was a need, and there was nobody doing it except maybe very few. So I saw that need, that to provide talent to media houses was a great opportunity. And
Got
you
it.
won't believe it, the way we started it in the first 1 year only, we did extremely well, very, very well, because I had anyway established credibility. And the moment I approached, say, even owners of newspapers or radio, etc., all that, we recruited for the major media houses. And from there, we expanded into other industries also, Gautam. So somewhere around 2008, 2010, by the time it was 7, 8 years, we expanded because we realized that this is going to be limiting for our growth. We expanded into other areas, and
Such
today,
as?
so there are clients in the car automobile
Okay, got
industry,
it.
group like Reliance, all those came into us, and till today we are servicing them. So somewhere around 2016, 17, my son, who was a sports journalist with Hindustan Times, he said that I want to join. I said, okay. So this business vertical is a separate business vertical now. And since last 6 years, I've been doing career development and leadership development coaching, which is close to my heart. I thoroughly enjoy it.
Oh, wonderful. So that's a great snapshot of your career, from sales to your own business to now becoming a coach over here. So Sarabjit, let's sort of switch gears now and sort of we'll structure this in a way that we'll sort of divide the conversation to three parts. One is a job search part, one is about career
Career
development,
development.
and second is about corporate responsibility or corporate managing corporate environments.
Sure.
So I'll ask you a series of questions, and let's sort of, for the benefit of our viewers,
Sure.
if you can sort of explain them, different facets of it.
Sure.
So in today's environment, what are the top two or three things that every sales professional should possess? Now, you said, public speaking and some of the other things came naturally to you. In today's environment, what are the three things that every sales professional should have?
All right. So if there are three things that any salesperson should have today, is one, he should be wearing the hat of a business consultant. Okay, so as a business consultant, when he's approaching a client, he would do thorough research and homework on the pain points of the client. So he should have that ability to be able to see that before I approach a client, have I done my homework in a manner as if I am a business consultant and I'm going to give a solution to my client. So that's one. That is as a business consultant, not really as a salesperson. Because the moment we say sales, people somehow get into the mode of pushing and it's me oriented. I'm saying it's a win win situation. So you got to create. So one is business consultant, thorough with research on understanding the pain point. The second is what is the kind of value you can get, means can you arrive at a solution for the pain point of that client? Are you in a position to develop that solution? That's the second. And the third is he should be able to relate or connect with the client in a manner that he should have conversations with clients. That means he has to not be a person who's in sales just trying to push or sell his product only on the basis of the features of the product, but a conversationalist with the intention of satisfying that client. In the sense, it has to be that, sir, this is what I understand. Am I on the right track? If you're not, please tell me. So that kind of a conversation ability should be there, because then only as a business consultant, as a person who can add value, can come up with a solution and is a good conversationalist from the point of view of having a meaningful conversation. These three qualities are absolutely a must.
Excellent. Going further, now these three qualities are not often easily found.
Sure.
You find, because there's no formal training for that. People either graduate doing their MBAs or whatever else, and then they start off with. So the whole idea of being a consultant approach, do their homework, is not taught is there a lacuna in our teaching over here at schools and college level?
So, uh, so this is something which, as frankly, sales is something which, if you really ask me,
Mm.
nowhere in the college also somebody will teach you to sell. It's always either marketing or the other fields, right? So, if one has that ability to be able to understand and appreciate what sales is, there are so many things. Like, I'll give you my own example. When I was with Indian Express, I did from IM Bangalore, I did a general management program at my own expense because I wanted to learn, because I was reaching a level where there. So, to answer your, sorry,
So that comes maybe later on in their career, right? So
sure.
I see a lot of 20 something people who come out and, first jobs, they have no clue about some of these things. And, so there is a mismatch in their aspiration and their capability, because you aspire to become big, but your capability is not there. So maybe that is something which needs to be fixed, I think.
I agree. So, there is, I would say, a gap there. And at the same time, there are people and some organizations are doing it and trying to fill that gap. But the methodology to go about this sales process, the way I'm saying, think of yourself as a business consultant. How do you identify the pain point? How do you derive at a value proposition, etc.? These are things that need to be taught.
Correct.
There's no doubt.
How important is it to have a digital footprint in today's job market? A lot of people put up a Insta reel or a Facebook post, but they don't often times work on the LinkedIn profile. How important is it to have a good digital footprint, and what are the things that they must sort of uh, take care about over there?
So, if you have to really build your career today, Gautam, I would say that without digital, it's going to really impact your career and take it backwards. If you really want to progress, you have to be visible on the digital platform. Now, what's happened is that with this Instas of the world and all this, not demeaning any medium, but they've given some very, very quick kind of money to some people. Suddenly, overnight, people have become stars and all that. Fine, they are making hay while the sun shines. But fundamentally, if you really want to build a career as a professional, you got to be on LinkedIn. There is no doubt about it, because LinkedIn is not a job portal. People misunderstand it. They say, "Yaar, job dekh rahe hain, to LinkedIn mein jayenge." Not
Mhm.
like that. You are a personal brand. Your branding can happen only on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn may take time to develop. So called, suddenly you may not become famous, but the learning that you will extract from there, like for example, if I put up a post on LinkedIn about this same thing what I just shared with you, Gautam, about selling and what's the process, if somebody is really keen, he will find that only on LinkedIn. On other
Absolutely.
platforms, he will not be able to extract that much of learning. So as a learning platform, LinkedIn, you have to be there. One, of course, you can always contribute. Even if you're not contributing, network and learn, get mentors from there. So to answer your
And this would
question,
be this would apply to all stages of a career. Even a fresher should have it, as well as a mid-level person and a senior person. All of them should have their LinkedIn.
absolutely, all levels, leadership level, mid level, as well as a fresher, because there is a need that is being met by LinkedIn. It all again boils down to, Gautam, how interested am I as an individual to really upskill? And LinkedIn is giving all this to you free. Where was this, say, 15 years back? But today you know what's happening, even in your target employer company, what's happening.
Absolutely.
So all your research is done here. So if you are telling me about how do I do research, I'm saying go on LinkedIn, yeah, read their company page, understand their pain point, read the post of the CEO and the MD, and you will understand what they are looking for.
Correct.
You can prepare.
So I don't know if you've seen this movie called 21.
Yeah, I've
It's a
seen
very
it.
famous movie.
I've seen it.
And there's a scene in the movie which I particularly like, and I'm quoting that, where I think a MIT student goes to Harvard for admission or vice versa.
Yeah,
And one of the questions the admissions officer asks him is, dazzle me. So when somebody is trying to get a job interview or trying to get a new job, how does one dazzle? How does one shine through? Anything, any tips or any pointers you could give our listeners?
absolutely. So to dazzle, frankly, it's like you got to create a hook. It's like in an advertising. Till the time the headline really addresses your pain point, you will not read the ad. Again, I'll come back to the basic fundamental that how much is the research you have done on your prospective employer company. The same thing that you would apply to a sales process, I would say apply it here. If you have really understood the pain point of the prospective employer, and if you really know and you really wear the business consultant's hat, and you're sitting in front of the client and he's the interviewer, you start with his problem and then you are prepared well that, sir, I have two ideas to solve this. Can we talk?
Got it.
He will listen to you. Instead of saying that I've got, say, 15 years experience or 10 years or 2 years experience, he's not interested in your experience. He's interested in what you can do.
Absolutely. So now there's another question I usually generally ask most people is, there's something about having being aware, awareness. So when you watch cricket, there is a match awareness a fielder or player should have. In your career, one should have career awareness to seize opportunities, to see the general environment around. Now, this awareness, is it? Some people have inbuilt, and some people have to cultivate it. Any thoughts on how can people cultivate this awareness?
You're right. So what happens is generally, even when I'm coaching people, suddenly at the age of 42, 45, they suddenly feel, "Ki now what? Means I've reached a level, but where do I go now?" So that awareness is extremely essential. One of the exercises which I give to my coaching clients is the SWOT analysis of your professional skills. It really reveals a lot. Writing down success stories about your own self reveals to you a lot that, yes, this is where I stand. These are my skills. Once your skills are there in front of you like a raw data, you are in a position to take a call as to what I should do. So that awareness part which you're saying, first you got to be aware and do a SWOT analysis. The moment you are aware that this is my strength, this is my weakness or an opportunity, then there is an opportunity and a threat, you suddenly start able to navigate your career in a far better manner. Till now, you've not done that. So once you start doing this, then your next step, because Gautam, it's like that. Many people say, what kind of a role should I select? What is the kind of role I should go for? I'm not too sure whether I will, means I've been doing this, say, for example, I'm in project management and I've reached a particular level, but this role has certain skills which I don't have. Should I take that up? Now, these kind of questions are real questions. The moment you do this SWOT analysis and identify your skills by your success stories, you start getting your answers.
So you make people write it down on a piece of paper, and then you sort of go with him or her on each points and assess.
Absolutely. I have a workbook. So suppose I'm coaching you, I'll give you a workbook. I'll take a session with you. I'll tell you to do a SWOT analysis. You'll do the SWOT analysis, send it back to me. I will analyze it. I will review it. I give my inputs. And then in the next session, I'll tell you now.
So strength is something that's easy to understand in the SWOT. What about the threats and the weaknesses?
Yeah.
Because human beings generally, weakness is difficult to admit that I'm weak in this particular field. So in your experience, do people actually write down the weaknesses, or they just camouflage it and try to wing it by?
No, so the advantage of, as a coach, I or any good coach should have the ability to be able to relate to a person, and the person has come to a coach only to get an objective feedback. It's like, telling them that you can't see the picture when you are in the frame. So as an outsider, when I'm telling you this, you are safe. You've raised your hand that you need help, but your boss does not know. So you are in a safe environment. So I notice people do write it down. And even if they don't do, I have probing techniques where I will ask them that, what about this? So suppose you're not growing in your career. What about this? How good are you at presentations? How good are you in standing in front of maybe the board members and making a presentation? Now you've reached a level of, say, a VP or a president, but CEO level, next level. Are you? And communication is very, very important.
Absolutely.
If you are not able to communicate, that single factor can get you out of the race completely, and then you don't grow. So they admit their weaknesses. They do.
Got it. There is often a certain type of people who will keep on making job switches from one job to another job, in pursuit of more money or more responsibility or career growth. And there is another set of people who will sort of be at one company either out of loyalty or complacency. Now, what is your sense on the people who sort of jump jobs? At some point, either they get stuck or they sort of keep on moving ahead? Any thoughts on those things?
Sure, Gautam. So what happens? Both have their. I would say there is no standard answer that whether I should be a job hopper or should I stay in one company. Depending on the situation, depending on an individual, depending on how the priorities are at that point in time, you stay on or you move. What I am not for is that job hopping without getting into the depth. So, what happens if you start changing jobs every year? Okay, initially to learn, maybe you might make few jumps, but by the time you are 30 plus and you still continue with that same trend, then you will land up nowhere. Why? Because every time you're changing, you're starting afresh. The depth has only not come in. You've not even
Absolutely.
allowed yourself to even learn something and give back to the company, which the company expects, and then be rewarded. You miss that critical phase and you just continue to just keep changing jobs because of either high salary or whatever that social status, etc. There will come a time very soon where you will not be valued because you have not gained that enriched experience, that in-depth experience. And that's when the problem. So if you are strategically planning that, okay, I think these are the skill sets I need, this is something which is a growth area, and hence I want to change. Maybe you've spent enough good time, you've given it back to the company, you've kind of have got in-depth experience in where you've done, and now you feel that yes, I think I need to learn something new and evolve. Then you're making a change. It's a strategic plan. Now, coming to people who have spent say 14, 19 years with one company, I coach those kind of people also. So sometimes they ask me that, Sarabjeet, is it that companies taking me for granted just because I'm here for 19 years? I
It
see
happens, right?
it happens.
Huh.
I see youngsters coming in and they're getting more salary. So I said, but fine. I said, if that realization has come to you now, there is a need of the company because the company phase has changed. Maybe at that point in time, there was a phase in the company where they would do with this, but now they need new skills. They need, why haven't you upgraded? So there is a certain comfort level that you also got into because of which, or maybe you were not guided, or maybe you just said, "Okay, yaar, theek hai, it's going on and I'm getting my salary." Suddenly you realize that there are new people coming in and I'm being taken for granted. So there are ways, things have changed, frankly. The younger generation is much more smarter.
Hmm.
When I coach senior people, one of the big things I come across is they are not very tech savvy. They are not able to even handle normal things which are there in, say, managing a proper systematic Google Doc. If those are the limitations, and if you know about it, you got to do something about it, Gautam.
Absolutely.
So maybe it's a hard lesson learned, but I don't feel what I advise them. I said, see, 19 years experience in one company. Look at your, if you're conscious about it, what I would like you to do is look at every piece of your tenure, 3 years, 4 years on one particular project, look at it as a new company, but refresh your learning that, okay, I moved up to a particular position level and the requirement of that skill was this, and I developed and upgraded. So even if you're in the same company for 19 years, but you've kind of, pieces like 4 year tenure here, 5 year here, 5 year here, and 4 years here, you have still got that exposure. What does a different exposure or a new company give you? It gives you a new enhanced learning besides the
Correct.
salary. And at the same time, you also got to have good executive presence. You got to have that visibility within the organization so that you are always respected and valued. So that also I teach people, because if you don't have good executive presence, you will not be noticed.
True.
You
Very
will
true.
just remain where you are. And so there are people who say, I'm not heard.
Hmm.
I'm not heard. I work very hard. I'm delivering results, but I'm not heard. I'm not there in the right quarters of the leadership top management team. So I
Because then
said,
they all face a perception issue.
yeah, there is a
Because when
perception
you
issue.
spend 18, 20 years in an organization, there is certain perception that builds up that he's like that or she's like that only. This is his skill set or this is his limitation and this is his plus point. And then within that mental boundary, that person has to sort of operate.
That is a big one, what you just
Huh.
mentioned. So the perception. So when I tell people that, what about executive presence? People say that, what is executive presence? It's something where, they say that, like there is a saying that, are you present in the room or is the room filled with your presence?
True.
So if the room is filled with your presence, you got to work hard on it. And executive presence is not only about your domain knowledge or your sales leadership ability. It's much more than that. And it's all about perception. So how am I being perceived as a leader today? Am I giving that message that I'm ready for a larger responsibility? Am I giving that confidence to my top management team that yes, I can handle a larger responsibility? If I'm not able to give that confidence through my actions and behavior, that is going to be a minus point. However good I might be in my domain, sales leadership, but you're not able to come up to that.
Got it. Now, oftentimes I've seen people, and especially in sales roles or even in other functions, that you become the department head or a functional head. You become in a sales role, you may become the CRO, and then when it comes to the top job, it could be the CEO's job. Then sometimes you are not, considered for that, and then there is a mismatch in either your ability or capability. How does a senior professional, bridge that gap? Because now you're mid 40s, you are heading the department, a lot of responsibility. How do you take the next jump to the next level?
Sure, very good question, Gautam. So this is quite common. You reached a CRO level, you're a sales leader, but now how do you go to the CEO level? You're age 45. You know what I've realized is sales leadership mein, many of these guys, in fact, they have a very, very big plus point because they are in touch with the customer. The customer pays your
Customer,
salary.
absolutely.
There is no other function which is closest to the customer like it is in sales, not even marketing, sales. So if you're a sales leader, you have a very big plus one. But at the same time, the moment you have to move to a CEO level, where when I coach people, I realize that one is operations, second is the finance part. They say, I don't understand P&L. I've never handled P&L. So the moment I become a CEO, I'll have to kind of read a balance sheet. So I said, so I'm saying the operations, the finance part, the span of control suddenly increases. Today you're say leading 200 people, tomorrow you're leading 1400 people as an organization. That's the third piece. Fourth is how do you delegate and manage your time? And the fifth and the most important thing, if you want to be a CEO, is take a bird's eye view.
Hmm.
You know, altitude has to go up. And can you really take a bird's eye view of the company rather than just being till today? You're doing a very good job as a sales leader, and you're very close to the customer. You're leading them well. You're getting the revenue function. But the moment your altitude changes, and you get a bird's eye view, the vision of the company, if I can see it, and I can collaborate different functional heads, and then do that, they are not in a position to do that. Means you can train somebody to do that, but this is something which they have to consciously work on if they have to become the CEO. So can I kind of, over a period of time. So that's what I make them do. I said, okay, now this is your career path. Next 1 year, if you want to be the CEO, these are the areas that you got to kind of ensure that you know. So understanding P&L, understanding operations, these become the challenges, Gautam. These are challenges which happen.
Absolutely. Sarabjit, now you've obviously spoken about the training part. For our viewers, can you sort of give a sense, if I were a senior management professional coming to you, saying, Sarabjit, why don't you sort of give me career coaching? Can you walk me through some steps or the process? How long is it, and what topics will you cover, and the whole uh, the whole program in a nutshell?
Sure. So what happens, I have identified certain needs of senior professionals, which are,
How do you identify that?
so I'll tell you. With my experience now close to 40 years, I've seen that there are certain elements, and because I keep myself updated, so I know that executive presence, personal branding, navigating your first 90 days in the new company, which is a big one,
We'll cover that.
Then there is career development coaching, leadership development coaching, job search coaching, and interview coaching. So all these are modules which I have. So you come to me as a senior professional and you say, okay, I'm not too sure what role I should have, whether I'm suitable for these kind of roles, whether I have the skills for that or no. How do I develop? So I say, okay, you take a career development coaching program, and it's for a period of a month and a half. For a month and a half, there are multiple sessions I have with that individual one to one, and I give workbooks, and those workbooks will have worksheets which they are
These are
supposed.
physical interactions or virtual
No, these are
interactions?
all virtual interactions, but the worksheets are sent to him. The worksheets are then sent back to me. I review that along with my team. They assist me. I will review that, give him feedback, and then I have the next session. So in that, there will be things like SWOT, there will be career planning, there will be success stories written in a particular format which I have devised. When they write the format and when their skills are actually identified, it's a revelation for them. They realize that yes, I think. And then I also take them through certain jobs which they aspire. then I take them through those jobs and say, okay, fine, if these are the skills that are the demand, rate on each of these skills where you rate yourself for that job. So your answer starts becoming clear. Let's on a rating of 1 to 10, do it. So once they start rating themselves, they themselves realize that, yes,
So
I
it's a
think,
process of reflection
oh yes,
and sort of introspection and the reflection
oh
to
yes,
sort of come up with the answer.
oh yes. Just to add to that, Gautam, the best results I've got
Hmm.
when you named reflection is I tell people to do journaling. And journaling is writing down what your feelings are and what are the challenges you face. Just write.
Ab-
You don't be judgmental about it, but just
Correct.
write so you become an observer. The moment you become an observer, as you keep doing it on a daily basis, but it requires tremendous amount of discipline.
Discipline.
So you got to sit down, even if it's for 15, 20 minutes every night or whenever there is solitude in your house and you can shut your room and just do that. Believe you me, this I've seen people evolve, and you can see my LinkedIn recommendations. People rave about it. And they specifically mentioned that when Sarabjit asked us to do journaling, I think the kind of revelation that happened is I started getting my direction. So it's phenomenal.
Great. So, Sarabjit, now let's talk about the next segment, which is about managing corporate life. So, a lot of people, are in jobs in different organizations, and they sort of some are able to navigate properly, some are sort of swimming over there, some are sort of sinking over there. So, some questions that I have are oftentimes you have salespeople say that I'm meeting my targets, I'm doing all the right things, but I'm not getting promoted. Uh, how does this individual now get out of that chakra view and move ahead?
So there could be various reasons, depending on what has been the past track record of that individual within a particular company, the work culture of the company, so on and so forth, and his equations, etc.
Hmm.
But one thing that everybody can do, besides being good at your work and delivering results, which is a given, there is no replacement for that. But that plus factor which I was talking about is the executive presence. Executive presence means, are you having credibility? Are you the kind of person who, um, I would say, has the ego as in the humility and the confidence? Are you the kind of person who, I'll give you a small example. When I meet some good sales leaders also, but when it comes to the SWOT analysis and we come across, they say that while making presentations, I'm not being able to put across my point the way I want to do it. I'm just giving you
Hmm.
an example. So what happens? Why? So I said, okay, you talk to me. So when they're making a presentation, I noticed that there are a lot of filler words that they are using.
Okay.
So while presenting also, and when you're a sales leader, you're presenting to your CEOs, etc., and senior management team, you are not in a position to build up that perception that as a sales leader, he's one person who I must give him the higher role now, and he should move to the next level. But believe you me, it's all about perceptions. If I use a tone of voice, Gautam,
Hmm.
or if I use a speed of my speech, which is either too fast or it's too slow, these things also make a lot of difference. It's a cumulative,
Absolutely. I know that.
holistic package. I'm not saying this is the only element, but this is a piece which they miss out. So while they're speaking, either they'll speak so fast, so it reflects perhaps nervousness or unsurety or uncertainty, or they may speak so slow that the audience goes to sleep. You got to find the right balance, because making a presentation at a senior level is an integral part of your progress. You cannot progress if you can't communicate your thoughts. I'm not saying you have to use impressive vocabulary, no, but you got to be able to communicate with confidence and conviction whatever you are presenting, right? Then, in terms of your authenticity, are you authentic? Are you credible from that point of view? Are you communicating that part of being credible? Uh, in terms of ego, it's like the humility and confidence both. So, can you create a perception, and do people feel that Gautam is a person who's really wanting to add genuine value to the other person? Now, with humility and confidence, you can do that. Can you communicate that? I was discussing this with somebody, and the person said, but I'm very, I don't, I'm a very good, means with my team and all, I'm good, but I don't like to kind of be the person who in a room
Absolutely.
will
This
make
is the
the
most common observation
huh,
that is there.
I don't want to be the person who speak the loudest.
Huh.
I said, don't speak the loudest. But do you have the emotional balance that when there is chaos in the room and everybody is fighting, you are able to manage your emotions well and you can handle kind of a chaos with disgrace? Can you handle that challenge with grace? That means if there is an argument also happening and you mention just one point and that everybody is silent after that
Got it.
because you really made sense. So can you do that? So I'm not the kind of person who will somebody told me. So I'm not the kind of person who will make myself very loud. But then I'm missing opportunities because of that. I said, you prepare. Are you prepared for the meeting? No, but I don't get time to prepare. I said, you get half an hour notice at least you get. That half an hour also prepare, but don't enter the meeting. Have only pointers. But you must know when there is a meeting, it's an opportunity for you to showcase that you are ready and prepared to take up the next level, which most people don't want to do.
Absolutely.
So they miss out on the opportunities in spite of being excellent sales leaders or leaders of
Functional
their
leaders.
functional, but they are not in a position to come up to that level. And there's a very good quote of humility. I have it. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but it is thinking. Uh, humility. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but it is thinking. Thinking about. Sorry, I got it. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but it is thinking about yourself less.
Got it.
Which means
Hmm.
you got to think of the other person that can I add value to that? Or instead of being so either self-conscious or so self-absorbed that you are only thinking even while speaking. I said, I'll give you a tip. If you want to make a presentation, the first thing you got to do is forget yourself. Forget yourself. And think only of the value that you're going to add to the audience. That's it.
Absolutely. Always the audience first.
The moment you will shift there, you'll become a good speaker. And believe you me, at senior level, at the age of 45, 47, when I'm coaching people, making a presentation is a big, big task.
It is.
And they are not in a position to present themselves well in spite of doing well in their jobs, in spite of delivering results, but they're not able to move the next level.
So this aspect is a big lacuna in everybody's arsenal. The ability to communicate, the ability to sort of, make their point come across. Is it due to lack of teaching, or we are Indians as culturally more attuned to being, humble and humility, like you said, Is it because of a cultural context?
Yeah.
Some of these things happen.
So what happens is we have a tendency to think that if I speak in a meeting or if I'm, people say if I'm a show off, then that's
The show off thing comes up.
So I don't want to show off. I'm doing well. I should be rewarded. I said, fine. There's nothing wrong or right, frankly. But in today's day and age, it's like, your personal branding or your marketing has to be strategic. You got to have a plan at the right time. And you're not cutting down somebody. You're not doing something at the cost of somebody. But you also need to be visible. So not having a LinkedIn profile well written, not being active on LinkedIn, not speaking in meetings, for whatever be the reason, because I'm not a show off. Let things come to me. But things don't work that way.
Absolutely. That if you wait, it's more like passive. You're sitting passively and waiting opportunities and things to come to you. But I think people have to be in the active mode, go forward and sort of participate, contribute in whatever form or fashion they can.
Absolutely, Gautam. And I'm in no way saying that this is at the cost of your delivery of goods or results. No, not at all. But I'm saying all these guys are delivering good results.
I think बचपन से सिखाना पड़ेगा बच्चों को ये all these skills.
It is true. And today's generation is much more smarter. They are able to do that much better. So somewhere you feel कि अरे नहीं यार वो तो बहुत बोलता है तो फिर politics हो जाता है. It's not.
ये भी common है, politics हो जाता है.
So वो तो बहुत मस्का मारता है and he's the kind of person, he's the favored guy. I said, okay, chalo, theek hai. Let's not be judgmental about anybody. Fine, you stay away from politics, dirty politics. You stay away from that. But at the same time, you got to be heard. And there is a way to do it with, as I said, with humility, not being brash, not cutting down somebody, but it's like, oh, mauke pe chauka.
Correct. So the important takeaway is you've got to be heard and you've got to have your own personal presence. You've got to have your own identity in the
Absolutely.
corporate room or the office floor, whatever it is. So another important question that often comes is, in corporate life is, you can't choose your parents and you can't choose your boss. Those are given. Now, oftentimes, a great boss, a good boss will take your career forward. He will give you the freedom, coaching, mentoring, and all of those things. There are a lot of stories of how bosses have helped individuals move ahead. And there are equal number or more number of stories where bosses have dominated and subjugated people and have become, terror or a reason for fear. Now, how does one manage a boss who's either tyrannical or who's a micromanager?
Micromanager.
Because ये बहुत common होता है.
Micromanagement is very common, and they say that I feel stifled every time. यार वो boss is saying, means he's micromanaging. So how do I handle that? So I'll give 3 tips for that. Means I'm saying, one, first of all, just have an open communication with your boss. Let's accept it that he's micromanaging because of, for whatever reason, either it's his own insecurity or he's under the pressure from the boss, or he wants to look good in front of it and doesn't want to look bad. So he's too overprotective about whatever, and hence delegating is becoming a problem. So you are in that situation, and I am of the belief that you got to make the best of that. Means in every adversity we got to look at the seed of an equivalent benefit and manage it, not run away from it, right? So I say, okay, do these 3 things. One is, have a chat with your boss and say, sir, I understand that you are really concerned about the delivery of goods, and that is why you are always checking, right? And you are asking, tell me which are the major areas where I can help you. So identify, openly communicate with him and say that which are the major areas where you need help. So okay, once he tells you, keep in mind that, okay, he says these 4 areas are important. See, it's very important to have a rapport with the boss. It's very important to, instead of getting very close that he's a micromanager and I just don't want to talk to him, then there is no communication. I'm saying, have an open dialogue, that develop that kind of a rapport, and first understand. Again, I'm saying, first understand, and then only you'll be understood. So first understand that he's micromanaging because of his own.
But isn't it also, one can do all the rapport building and all of those communication with your boss. Sometimes, for whatever reason, the boss is what he is or she is.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, I see people don't quit. Now, if you have got a bad boss or a terrible boss, your option is one which you've just talked about it, is talk to your boss and try to build a rapport and sort of clear it out. Or second option is change jobs. Why do people suffer?
No, so I'll tell you, there are 3 things that I would advise, and this has worked in many cases. So one is, you talk to your boss, understand the areas. Second, because of his micromanaging trait, tell him that, sir, I will set up a system where I'll keep you informed every week or bi-weekly. I'll send you a report on these areas, what is happening. Ask in consultation with the boss. And the third thing should be very clear that what are the expectations, sir, you have out of me in terms of delivery of goods. So get everything out of the boss. So if you are able to identify the 3 areas, if you are able to set up a system where on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis, you are keeping him informed, so his anxiety is less, his whatever insecurity you call it, whatever is less. And third, you are really saying that, sir, what are your expectations from me? Can we please put it clearly, tell me. So I will deliver on that and I'll keep you informed. So to a great extent, the micromanaging trait and that affecting your life will become less. The impact will become less and you may want to continue. But if it's getting very toxic, if it's getting very bad, and if you want to leave, those are also situations in life which will come. We can't help that.
Great. Now, why is it that some people get all the opportunities and some people don't? What is it about some people that opportunities sort of come their way? We touched upon some of those aspects, but if you could sort of summarize it for the benefit of our viewers,
All right. So one has to be very much aware of what is happening in terms of your own skill development. That's very important. Are you really up to the mark? Are you missing out on the digital, showcasing your digital self? Because many people at the age of say 50, 51, when they come to me and I'm coaching them, I realize that, are you on LinkedIn? He said, yeah, but I've never been on LinkedIn. So it's not to do with LinkedIn as a platform. I'm questioning them. I'm just trying to understand what is the kind of mindset, because things have changed. If you have to be in sync with what's happening in the market, then you got to upgrade your skills. So that's one, that you got to be completely in sync with what's happening, what's the need, what's happening in the job profiles, what is the industry doing. One. Second, networking. Very important. You got to network to learn. You got to have perhaps mentors. You can.
So should one network within the organization or outside the organization or within industry bodies, what have you? Generally, for sake of our audience, what is networking, or how should they do it?
So I would say networking is a strategy. It has to be included as a part of your career growth plan. Networking has to be done with a certain objective. So it can be it has to be even within the company with the required people, depending on what your objective is. Uh, because maintaining good relations, let's accept it, is something which is always helpful within the organization. And so that you are more aware of what's happening within the organization. And again, I'm reiterating, this is not at the cost of your performance, but these are all pluses which we are missing out on. And hence we find that, that challenge in our careers. Second, network outside also. There are senior leaders, and networking wouldn't necessarily mean, Gautam, that you have to go physically and have a drink or a cup of coffee only every time. Today, LinkedIn as a platform is there. Even if you're networking through that and you dedicate, say, okay, on networking, I will dedicate and maybe 45 minutes every day in the night or half an hour every day. What would that networking mean? The networking would mean that, okay, fine, these are the kind of roles I aspire for. Let me see who are the people doing that.
Got it.
In the competition, what is happening? Start networking through that. And of course, the third element in networking would be industry bodies, attending those meetings and being a part of that. The more you are aware, the less what you're trying to do is that uncertainty or that unpredictability about a jerk in your career, you're trying to reduce that. And you are better prepared if you're networking.
Got it. I think a lot of this realization comes maybe 5-10 years down the line, because when you join as a 25-year-old or 20 something old, you're still starry eyed and you continue with it. And then after 10 years of job, in your mid 30s, you start realizing things are not going as you imagined in your early 20s. And then that's when, the dissatisfaction sets in. I think oftentimes the coaching ability that we were just talking about should happen much earlier than later.
Sure.
Is my If I had to do rewind the clock, I would have done it in my 20s, then later on.
गौतम, इट्स लाइक दैट ना, कि हम लोग डॉक्टर के पास तभी जाते हैं जब मतलब रिपोर्ट खराब हो जाती है.
Correct.
Then only we go to the doctor. That prevention is better than cure is not just a saying. It is something which we can really do very well.
Absolutely.
So there are very few people. Means I tell them that, अपने बच्चों को तो सिखा दो. मतलब you should ensure that only when the pain becomes so much, then you realize that, yaar, boss, abhi koi choice nahi hai. And that's how human tendency is. When you're pushed against a wall.
Correct.
When COVID happened, Gautam, just see what the human spirit could do. Means we survived that. It's unfortunate and very sad that many of us lost people. But I'm saying that to operate out of home and be at home,
Correct.
all those things which we would never want to do, we did it.
Absolutely. Now, a very common thing in the corporate environment is salary. So that is the sum and substance of doing a job, and one of the perks of a job. Now, salary negotiations are tough. It's even tougher when you've spent about 15-20 years in a company and you think you are sort of underpaid as compared to the market. Now, how does this individual sort of try to bump up his salary? Any tips or any pointers for people like that?
All right. So you got to, first of all, again, as I said, you got to be aware of your own value that you're contributing to the company. Having a discussion with your boss very openly in terms of whether, it's important that you are also valued. So have an open dialogue, see the areas, and it's very important that we should also be open to feedback. Many times I notice that the feedback people are not open to. So if you are really getting feedback and genuine feedback, take a proper feedback from a cross-section of people, could be your mentors, could be your bosses, could be your colleagues, could be your well-wishers, people who are really wishing well for you, and genuinely see whether that feedback matches with your own assessment which you have just done. That are these areas that I'm really lacking? And if so, then I need to improve. Now, suddenly going to your boss and saying, boss, I'm not getting the salary, is going to be a very difficult one. So it has to be something which has to be consciously built into your career planning, that okay, I think next year I want this. So for that you got to plan it right now. It cannot happen that suddenly there's a performance appraisal happened and you realize कि यार मेरे को तो कुछ ज्यादा मिला नहीं, सबको मिल गया. अभी उस वक्त जाओगे तो झगड़ा होगा.
Correct.
And the boss will say, boss, ये नहीं, मैं नहीं कर सकता हूँ. That's not the right way to do it. Everything has to be planned. And I'm not saying that, see, life is unpredictable. But if you can achieve even 30% of what you have planned in terms of these other areas, you have progressed. But today we are at maybe zero. So you realize that, अरे यार, नहीं हो रहा है.
Correct. So coming on to the next segment, which is equally important for all professionals, is a job search.
Yeah.
Now, job search is again sometimes um, a science, an art, or it is just pure luck. So, what is your take? Now, you've obviously run Aspirations, the recruitment company. You've sort of have this huge experience of interviewing and sort of hiring hundreds and thousands of people. Is job search process a method, or job search is also luck and sometimes combination of both?
It is, Gautam, absolutely a process and a method. There is a structure to that. So let's not say that, वो उसको जानता है इसलिए उसको उसमें जॉब मिल गई उसके बाद परफॉर्म करेगा नहीं करेगा, राइट जॉब है. So let's not depend on that. And things have changed. Today what has happened because of the online job portals, etc., Naukri, LinkedIn, all those, everybody has kind of found an easy way out. At the click of a button, just upload the CV. That's it. And then they feel that, अरे यार, response नहीं आ रहा है. But that is not the right way to approach. A right way would be to again go step by understanding first of all the target employer list. Have you made a target employer list? No, but I don't know whether there are vacancies there or no. Doesn't matter. There are hidden jobs. There are jobs which are there, which are not publicized or advertised. There could be jobs, but you're not making a list just because you see a job and you find it very easy to, at the click of a button, just upload your CV. That is the wrong way to search for a job.
So that also comes to homework, right?
Absolutely.
If you want to have a target list of companies that you aspire to be, then you need to do the homework.
In depth.
So people don't want to do homework.
Exactly.
They all want shortcuts. It's McDonald's available for everybody over here.
No, so what happens is, because of that, you're losing out on good opportunities because suppose you have a list of 10 target employer companies. Suppose you start doing research on all of them, irrespective whether there is a vacancy or no. Today, it's very easy on LinkedIn to connect with people from those companies. But what will you say is more important. You just can't send a connection invite and the next thing should be, here's my resume. He doesn't know you. He's not going to respond. Sorry. You got to ensure that you give him a hook. Again, it will come from your research and homework. And are you wearing the hat of a business consultant and then providing a solution?
Correct.
Only when you provide a solution to that guy and there is a hook in that, the guy will listen to you.
So all these pieces are interlinked.
Interlinked.
Your communications, your strategy, your homework, your consultancy approach, all of it is linked together. Your preparation is all linked together. And that is what you're saying, right?
Absolutely. And that is how you make your job search successful and proactive, and try and target companies which you value. I'm not saying that every job you will get whichever you are targeting, but suppose you have 10 companies where you will get a job in one of them, instead of just applying and then praying.
Oh yeah, because that is a spray and pray approach.
Spray and pray approach.
Just click, cut, it goes and then nothing happens.
And today what has happened, those, ATS softwares are there. They will just pick up some keywords and they'll sift off the resume. It doesn't even reach a human eye.
Correct, because the machine sort of
so why
eliminates most of them.
Why are we depending on that? Why don't we reach out to the person?
That also comes to the next level. Next question is about the CV, the basic resume writing. What are the characteristics of a good resume? I know it's different for different roles, but if you were to give a thumb rule, what are the important things to have in your resume?
Sure. So before I tell you,
Because
maybe
oftentimes I'll just give you my perspective. I've seen lot of times a CV saying, you know what, I seek an opportunity in this company and I am willing to learn. I want to join this company to learn. And I always find it very strange that why would somebody hire you to learn at their expense
and pay you, yeah.
and pay you?
No, right. So before I come to what are the points in the CVs or the resume, I would emphasize that there is one thing that is being underutilized by most of the job seeking professionals is a pitch letter or the letter which should be attached to the resume.
The covering letter.
Covering letter. It's called covering letter, but I prefer to call it a pitch letter because it really pitches your candidature. Again, how do you do it? The pitch letter has to be very brief, short, but it has to be you oriented, employer oriented. Study the mission and the goals of the company. Try and find a correlation as to how your passion and your skills align well with their mission and goals and how you can add value. That should be your opening line of just one para and then attach your CV or resume, right? In the CV, then, first of all, the headline is missing most of the times. It's like a newspaper. I want to read a newspaper. The recruiter is very busy. He will just take 6 seconds and decide whether he should read the resume or no. You have to catch him in the headline.
Correct. In the first few seconds is when he will decide to
Whether I
take
should
it or
read
drop
it
it
or
out.
drop it.
Exactly.
So a newspaper comes to your house. There is sports. There is politics. There is. I'm interested in sports. I'll read the headline. Only if the headline is attractive, then I will read it further. Headline is not, assuming the newspaper didn't have headlines. Can you imagine what happens? Exactly the same thing happens with the resume. Without headline and without an appropriate headline, which will attract and clearly spell out that I am from this domain. So that's one. Second, most of the times, you know what happens, Gautam? People include in their core skills a lot of soft skills like ability to learn, communication, uh, team worker, or a good leader, for example. Now, these are all things that will get reflected in your achievements and success stories. Please do not waste your precious space in the CV of the core skills. Mention only hard skills there, which are your hard skills. Negotiation is a hard skill. Mention that if you are good at that and if you are a sales leader. Or maybe if you want to kind of say that, okay, knowledge about this product, fine, product knowledge, that is a hard skill. Or any other in project management. Don't waste the space with these soft skills because that.
So can you just list the soft skills that one should not mention in the CV?
So something like, I'm saying that I'm a quick learner. Get it reflected in your achievement and success stories. Please do not use that space to mention the core skill because core skill section is there. Generally, people want to refer to the headline and then say, okay, little professional summary. And then what are the core skills? And those core skills make me as a recruiter decide whether I should call him or no. But if I keep reading that he's a good leader or a good communicator or he's a quick learner or he's got good presentation skills, those are things which can get reflected through your achievements and success stories in the resume. Please do not mention that. So avoid that. Mention project management. Mention, say, suppose SAP professional. Mention what is required in that software industry if you are from software. Mention those skills which are in demand. That's the second piece. Third, do not focus on your responsibilities and waste precious space in the CV. Focus on your achievements in bullet points because people are interested more in achievements. Just a one para of responsibility is good enough. Another thing, do not, if you are an experienced professional, do not elaborate your experience which is beyond 10 years. Means today we are in 24. So don't write what you achieved in 2008 and 9, elaborate. No, just mention those one-liners. And last and final, don't have your resume more or CV more than 2 pages. I came across a resume which was of 14 pages. I called the guy and I said, I want to meet you.
14 pages?
I want to meet you. I met him and I said, how the hell did you have a 14-page resume? Then he started elaborating. So verbose, whatever he was saying, verbatim, he started writing it down. I said,
paragraphs over there.
I said, do you think anybody will read this? You're not getting a call. It's obvious. So these are the things that we need to take care as far as the CV is concerned.
Interesting. Now, coming to the job interview process. Now, job interview can also be very nerve-wracking for some people. Some people are able to do a good job. Some people are very nervous about it. How does one prepare for a job interview? Now, it's a lot of mental battle going on over there. How does one sort of prepare for it?
I just finished an interview coaching session yesterday with somebody very senior, exactly the same thing. So in my coaching also, what we do, for an interview preparation, first you got to understand what the target employer is looking for. So when I ask people that, okay, how do you understand what they are looking for? They said, JD hai. So I've got the JD, I've read the JD. I said, in the JD, what have you read? No, they are looking for maybe a sales leader or something like that. And that's it. But I said, have you really gone through the nuances of what they have mentioned, including the transferable skills, the soft skills, etc., everything? What are the key result areas that they are expecting? Try and understand the pain points. Go to the website of the company, go to the LinkedIn company page, understand from there. Go and understand from the CEO's post what is the pain of that company before you go for an interview there. So do not do research or homework or preparation just like, हाँ मेरे पास JD है तो I'm got an interview and I'm very experienced. Your experience is fine, but how relevant is it? And interviews are always about how you present, not what you present. So
Can you elaborate on it? How and versus what?
So if I am just going there and suppose, a simple question, let's take an example. Tell me something about yourself. I say I've got 20 years experience or 22 years experience. I'm a sales leader, and I've worked for these organizations, these industries, and something where I've done, I have delivered the results. I'm the kind of person who has a style in terms of leadership, of motivating the teams, etc. Suppose, just so I've got 22 years experience, and this is what I've said. Versus, this is the what. I'm saying how. If I have done homework on that company and I know that the company is in a stage where they are wanting to, and they have realized that one of their pain points is that they are losing customers because the customer education part is not happening. For example, if the customer education part is not happening, my introduction of tell me something about yourself has to be that I'm a passionate sales leader who dies for customers. And I realize that if I don't educate the customers and my team is not well trained to educate the customers, I will not make any headway. Now, what I've done, I've just added this as one of my areas of introduction, that I'm a sales guy. I'm talking of tell me something about yourself as a professional introduction. I'm not talking of myself as a personal thing that I belong to this place and this is what. So the moment I say something which is the pain point, around the pain point, and I introduce myself, you will listen to me more and you will be more motivated to ask me questions that, okay, fine, Sarabjeet, now tell me what else can I ask you?
Got
So
it.
that's how you got to kind of, so preparing for interviews also again is the research, understanding the pain point, wearing the hat of a business consultant, writing down your success stories, and picking up from that raw data of success stories only the relevant ones which are pertaining to this employer.
Got it.
Only then.
Absolutely true. Now there is oftentimes there's a hidden job market, and in organizations, some role may spring up because the company has got a new project or whatever, and there is a role that's come up which only some of the employees know about it. How does one tap into the hidden job market? We kind of touched upon it briefly, but can you just sort of summarize it for us?
Absolutely. In fact, in my job search coaching, I only promise that we'll tap the hidden job market, and the structure to
First,
do
what
that,
is hidden job market? Is my definition correct?
it is correct. So hidden job market is the job market which is not really advertised. Because see, worldwide research has proven that only 25% of the jobs are advertised. What about the 75%? So they are only going through either referrals or through networking, or the recruiting team is directly reaching out and they are using LinkedIn for that. Now, if you're losing out on the 75% market and then saying, my career opportunities are less, that's wrong. I'm saying that yes, there is a hidden job market.
And that is 75% of the market is hidden.
Hidden.
75%, that
Yes,
big.
yes.
Wow.
So that 75% may what happens, 15% comes from the executive search agencies because it is given to them, maybe certain select few agencies. The balance comes only from referrals and networking.
Okay.
That means you're talking
So
about
60%.
60% of the market is only coming through referrals and networking. So when I say referrals means there is a referral internally, somebody is recommended, or networking means the recruiter is also kind of connected to somebody through LinkedIn, etc. We have to use this. If you put a structure to that, you can tap that market. So I teach people how do you ensure that you
for
make a
our
list.
audiences, can you give a little step by step how does one go about
Sure,
it?
sure.
Step 1, 2, 3.
Sure. So make a list of target employer companies, number one. Second, write down success stories. so that you can know from those success stories what your skills are once you're ready with that. Third, once you have identified those 10 companies, start doing research on those companies. And the research has to be in-depth, as I said. Can't be just cursory research. Do in-depth research on this company. Identify the 2 or 3 major pain points. Once you're ready with that, then make a list of all the, let's assume there are 10 companies. You have, say, 15 people in each company or 20 people in each company who are influential. Could be the HR head, could be the recruiter in the company, could be the business head, could be the functional head, could be the CEO, whatever. Those 20 people, start connecting with them through LinkedIn. But when you start writing to them, as I said, it has to be something which is about them. It has to be something about which is interesting for somebody like you. If you are a job seeker, what is it? What is it that's really kind of impressing you about that company? Start doing that.
Got it.
Make that list, and
So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
yes,
step points for it.
yes,
This is a long process.
it is.
Yeah,
It is.
it's not an overnight thing.
It does not
Oftentimes people want things
Job
to
kal
happen.
chahiye.
Kal chahiye.
Kal
I
chahiye.
want it to happen overnight. So people should realize that job search, career development is a long-term process. You invest in it, and the dividends or the results are spread over a long time. It takes time to fructify. Oftentimes people want, आज मैंने CV लिखा, that tomorrow I should get a job. That is not what you're saying. You're saying it's a long-term process.
It is a long-term thing, Gautam. But when you see what happens, because it is long-term and because I have not done it and it's painful, I don't do it. But I'm saying if I give you a structure, the pain will be very less and you'll start getting results faster. By not doing it, you will not achieve it in 10 years. Here, at least you'll start seeing results in 1 year.
Correct.
That's good.
Yeah. Now, sort of trying to sum it up, and the most important question everybody has is salaries. How does one get the salary you want or negotiate a salary? Is there some steps that we could sort of tell our audiences about how does one negotiate a salary, or is salary the be all and end of the job?
No, salary is important, but at the same time, let's not miss the woods for the trees. I would say that let's look at any time you're evaluating a job offer. If you've reached the salary level, keep yourself open, because you have to also see whether the job profile is enriching and it's adding some value to your career. What happens many times, people just say salary, 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 and sometimes it gets into a situation where they miss out a very good opportunity and by not being a little flexible. So when you're negotiating, first of all, you should know your own value. You should know your uniqueness and how you are actually being able to, because that is very essential. Then only you will negotiate with confidence. At the same time, there are approaches. Number one, allow the employer to make the first move. You don't make the first move. Let the employer say a figure. This is a kind of a table tennis match which will go on. The guy will say, nahi, you tell me what's your expectation. But you have to be very smart and say, fine, means you have your own budget, you have your company scales, you have evaluated me, you know what value I get. Whatever you have in mind, please.
So the first number should come from the
them.
Employer.
You are in a stronger position then. But suppose that doesn't happen and they insist, then you got to do homework in terms of 3 things. One is your own value, what is your uniqueness. Second, what is the industry level in terms of the pay scale. You should have an idea. And these are all things that you can do. Go across, say, 10 to 15 jobs at that level, at VP level, and you'll know what are the salaries. So I have that. And third, most importantly, what is it that is going to add value to you in terms of a career move if you join the company? Take that also into consideration. On this basis, arrive at a range. So if you have to give a figure while negotiating, I would say give a range instead of a single figure. Why? Because range allows you flexibility. It also reflects that, yes.
Range should be what, 5% or 10%?
No. So assuming, I'll give you a formula for that. Assuming you're at 30 lakh CTC and you are saying that I expect at least 30% to chahiye yaar. 39 chahiye, huh? This is in your mind. Now, if 39 is your expectation, give them a range of, say, 42 to 45. I want 42 to 45. So what you have done, you have upped your level from 39 to actually 42. So that when they'll say, no, we can't afford it or something like that. So you may end up getting what you want because that's in your mind. And there has to be a figure which you should keep in mind, below which you will not go, irrespective. And that might be your own figure. But otherwise, you'll let the job also go. But that you have to arrive at taking into consideration that the job is not really worth at this price. So a formula, 30% you want, arrive at that figure, do a plus to that, and then
And
give
then
a range,
that's
and
a
then
range.
say a range, and then
Got it. Perfect. So Sarabjit, this basically covers the three segments that we wanted to talk about from a corporate standpoint, coaching standpoint, and a job search standpoint. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I think you've given a lot of useful tips for young professionals, not only in sales but in other functional roles also, in all the different facets of their career. Again, thank you for being on Sell Side Conversations. It was a pleasure having you here.
my pleasure, Gautam. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly, and I hope I've been able to add value to the viewers.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gautam.
Bye.
Thank you very much.